And now for our regular Forex segment, Tamara Henderson, ANZ head of Forex and Rates Strategy, joins me now in the studio. Tamara, good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Now, let's start with New Zealand. The RBNZ expected to make a decision. No change?
No change in the, well, excuse me, no change in the sense that we're looking for a neutral bias. No more cuts expected. Looking for the growth outlook to be upgraded a bit, but in the sense of no change, not to be signaling any tightening anytime soon. So, we don't look for tightening until well into next year.
What does it all mean for the Kiwi? We have consumer confidence at an 18-month high, housing prices rising for a fourth month in August. Pretty good numbers, solid recovery there.
Solid numbers. A lot of these numbers, I think, are part of the momentum in risk appetite. Just we're looking at improvement in the numbers from lows, but these are very substantial lows. Remember, we had a substantial plunge in trade, in financial markets at the end of last year. So we are seeing improvements, but these are not recoveries in any sense of the word. So markets are queuing off the direction, not necessarily the level.
38% gain against the USD in the past 6 months. Overdone? Time for a correction?
Probably. I mean, we probably could get a little bit more. The momentum at the moment, at least today, this week, is strong. But ultimately, we see some softening into the year end.
Let's take a look at the other currencies in Asia. You're liking the yuan a fair bit. Why is that?
Well, we like the yuan. It was hit so hard last year in the crisis. And we believe, because it's such an open economy, that it's really posed to benefit whenever we get the return of foreign demand. Now, this is something that we won't expect to see in the real sense until next year, but certainly in terms of base effects, we're going to start to see some really impressive numbers on a year-on-year headline basis, which should start to capture the attention of markets.
So what kind of upside are you looking at for the yuan?
11.25 by year end is what we're looking for. We're really going to have some strong base effects in the next, certainly by the year end, and I think the markets are going to get really excited about that.
What's the risk factor when you talk about trading the yuan?
Well, of course, it's all about risk appetite at the moment, and as we know, 1 week it's up and 1 week it's off. Certainly this week is a totally different story from last week when we were focused on the correction in Chinese equities. This week, somehow, we're taking a positive read on the U.S. employment report on Friday. The headline number for August was better than expected, but we are ignoring the fact that the back numbers were revised lower, and of course the unemployment rate went higher. So taking what we want from that number, certainly we had a bit of a pause over the summer for equities, and we've gotten some of the real numbers coming out of the U.S. and Europe looking a little bit better, so a little bit of the real economy catching up to equities. But we've got some headwinds in September. Historically, it's not a great month for equities, so I'd be a little cautious until we get September out of the way. But further down the road, I'm definitely bullish on Asia.
The other currency that we're tracking is the Rupiah. It's gained Asia ex-Japan, right? What's the outlook for the Rupiah? I mean, what are the catalysts you're looking out for?
I think the currency will still get supported by this momentum in risk appetite that we will see into year end as we get the numbers looking better, the growth numbers looking better. But I think as far as being an outperformer within the region, I think that is going to start to give way to the Korean won, which is a much more open economy. It's the type of things it exports are much more sensitive to discretionary demand, and when we start to see a little bit of improvement in that, we're going to see the won benefit more. The rupiah we expect to still improve through the course of the year, but not as much as it has against the region.
Will the rupiah be weighed down by inflation concerns?
Well, that's another possibility. When we talk about favorable growth effects, there's also the unwinding of unfavorable inflation effects coming up. As we remember, about this time last year, we were at the peak of commodity prices. So we're going to start to see the inflation numbers, although they look pretty benign, they're on the headline figures, they're going to start to look a bit worse on the year-on-year. And certainly monthly momentum has been picking up in the region. So yes, inflation is something to be watching out for. The central bank, however, has already shifted its stance. It's already said it's already focusing on inflation expectations, managing them for next year. So they're definitely sending the right signals that they're going to keep that in hand. We don't expect anything building in inflationary pressures too soon, because we still have output gaps in the region. But it's going to be an issue for Indonesia sooner than other Asian currencies.
All right, tomorrow we'll leave it there. Tamara Henderson joining us here on The Trade.